But as a father, I start with I guess I just try my best to be as present as possible. Show him different emotions, show him love, what love looks like. So I hug him and kiss him, and we wrestle and things like that. He definitely I call him a little gangster because he just mush.
What's happening, y'all? This is Mike D with Black Fathers Now, where we're bringing the village to the brothers. Every couple of weeks, you can look forward to a quick inspirational message or a thought-provoking guest with knowledge and wisdom, all geared towards helping you be the best father that you can be. We're bringing the village to you. Now it's your turn to do something with what you learned. All right, y'all. Let's go. What's going on, fellas? This is Mike D with Black Fathers Now. And yo, I got a dope guest on the show today, and we're really going to dive into something that is really impacting our community at a very, very, very deep level, and that's mental health. But the brother that I have on, man, he's a husband and he's a father. His name is Arron Muller, and Arron is the Chief Operating Officer and therapist at Life Matters Psychological Services in New York City, or it's outside of New York City. He'll probably specifically let us know exactly where it is, but it's in New York. And recently, they held their first mental health discussion entitled Melanin Millennials and Mental Health. It was a call to action to address mental health amongst millennials. Arron is also a school social worker for the Department of Education and a behavioral health consultant for Kings County Anti-Violence Program. Arron also provides individual and couples counseling. And also, to throw on top of that, I can keep reading because he's got a long bio, which is a good thing. That means the brother's accomplished a good bit, right? He was also selected as the expert consultant for the Root.com's topic on black love and featured in Huffington Post's 15 Black Male Therapists You Should Know. Fellas, we got to welcome my man, Arron Muller. Arron, how you doing, my man?
I'm great, man. Thank you for having me here. I appreciate it.
No doubt, brother. No doubt. No doubt. Now, before we get going, I know you probably need to give a few shout-outs, man. Go ahead and shout out your fam, your beautiful wife, your little boy. Just give a shout-out, man, to all those that you want to give a little nod to this morning.
Yeah, so I want to shout out to my wife, my son, Hudson, my family, all my friends, just everyone who supported me along the way. It's for me on Instagram, liking, tagging, and kind of reposting some of the information I provide. So I thank everyone for that.
That's what's up, man. And you all have probably seen him on Instagram. He's the Black Therapist. So good stuff. We're gonna link up all his stuff in the show notes, so don't worry about that. You will be able to follow him and follow all the good stuff he throws out there. But man, so tell me a little bit about your backstory, man. I see that you all currently live in Queens, New York. Tell us a little bit about your backstory, brother.
So I started at the age of 16 years old, and I forget this sometimes, that I started working for Queens Center for Autistic Children. That's where I really got my first break into the mental health field, so to speak. My cousin is autistic, and I was working with him as a respite worker, providing kind of support, and it's kind of a service where you give the parents kind of respite so they can take care of the things that they need to do, because a special needs child is a very daunting task. So that's where I first got my kind of touch with mental health and services and providing support. And then fast forward a few years later, I was in undergrad studying economics, and I was failing pretty bad. I was feeling economics, and I said I gotta get something, because I'm not gonna drop out. And I was doing pretty well in sociology courses, so I said let me just switch to sociology. Seems all right. And I started to really get understanding of people and human behavior, and graduated with my degree in sociology from Queens College. And it's like, what do you do with that? What do you do with that? I met one of my neighbor's friends that I knew since I was very young. I met her in Macy's one day, and I was like, I graduated. She was like, well, that's good. I said, I have my degree in sociology. She said, give me a resume. I didn't know what her position was or anything. Turned out she had a high position at a addiction program.
Mm-hmm.
She was like the VP. I don't remember a specific title, but it just how it's funny how things and how God works.
That's right.
And she passed my resume along, and I got a call. Would you like to be coming to interview for a counselor position at a methadone program?
Mm-hmm.
And I had no idea.
A methadone, like a methadone clinic?
Methadone clinic,
okay.
Right. I had no idea what methadone was, anything like that. I had no kind of familiarity with drugs or alcohol, anything like that. Got the interview and got the job. And it's like, okay, now what do I do? Now, here I am, an introverted person,
mm-hmm.
very shy. Now I have to introduce myself to people and have them talk about their problems. Especially now, I'm 24 years old, no realities about addiction or drugs and alcohol like that. So I did a lot of studying about heroin, about crack cocaine, withdrawals, how it deals with the body, things like that. And I just started to just research and understand how it works and things like that. I got some training from the program, but there's certain things that's innate that's within you in
mm-hmm.
terms of empathy and being able to relate and just human connection.
Mm-hmm.
It's either you have it or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point now they throw you in there. Now I started with like 69 patients.
Wow. Just off the jump, 69 patients.
Yeah. So they gradually add them on you, but it added up pretty quickly because there's a lot of patients and they need to be attached to a counselor.
Uh-huh.
And now I'm in there just working through my own shyness and having to deal with that and just like, you know what, there's no time to be shy. Like, you have a job to do. And just kept on getting better and more comfortable and learning different techniques and training. And, you know, this is my first job. I'm like, okay, this is a nice check. But I'm like, so I asked the director, her and I became very cool. I said, so, you know, how you make more money around here? That's exactly how I said it.
Uh-huh.
She said, hey, you got to go back to school. And at this point, I was finished. I'm like, I'm done. The bachelor's degree, I got it. I hated school, but I did it. And I was like, no, I'm not going back. I'm good. And she kept on coming to me. She was like, when you going back? When you going back? And so I'm like, okay, so what? I see she's a social worker. So I was like, okay, so you have to go back to school to get a social work degree. So I prayed about it, thought about it. And she was very influential in encouraging me to go back. I had my family support. So I went back, and that's where I got like a deeper understanding, the clinical piece behind it, and theory. You know, theory is a great framework, so how you can work with clients.
That's right.
So went back to school, was working full-time, working part-time, and going to school.
Wow. So
then there's internships that's involved with that. So I had some rich internships at a pretty big hospital here in New York. And I was in the children's outpatient psychiatry.
Okay.
So that's working with children with ADHD, behavioral problems, oppositional challenges, and that was kind of a great start of working with doctors, working with parents, doing family therapy, and I started doing groups there as well. And that's why I just started to perfect my craft and learn. And then my second placement was at it was kind of like a detox facility,
okay.
which I already had that experience. It was great to be on the other side of kind of a place where I would refer one of my clients to.
Okay.
So I would refer them for additional services. They had, you could stay there for, months at a time. So especially because housing was an issue, so I was always trying to refer them to places where they can have, food and shelter and things like that. So that was a great experience. And that's kind of what got me into the social work field and my first job, and then going back to school and graduating. And then from there, it's just been a roller coaster ride of finding jobs, finding what I like, finding what I don't like. I've done hospital, community mental health centers, so that's like seeing 13 patients a day, just back to back. And there it was really rich experience because now you're really dealing with schizophrenia, hallucinations.
That's right.
And really working with those clients and working with doctors on finding the right medication and things like that. So I did that for a few years, but I always knew that I wanted to do school social work, and I knew I wanted a private practice. That's always been in the back of my mind. since I started in the program.
I got
so that's where
I got a question. You said you hated school, but yet you want to do school social work.
Right.
It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I hate it. Yeah, I hate.
But you want to go back.
The studying piece. Like I want to be a social worker in a school for kids.
Okay.
Yeah, so I wanted to be like the person they could come to and talk, have, if they have any issues or things like that. But no, I really hated school. The studying, the writing the papers. I enjoyed learning, but the writing and the homework and the studying, that is what I don't like.
Okay, but you like the actual, but then you found a love in this space of mental health and helping people, so therefore you like the actual practice of what you want, the practical application of it, just the whole notion of back in the day.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And I pushed through it because I'm like, I just kept looking at the tunnel, like the end of the tunnel, like, look at what you want to do. Just got to, press on and work through it. And that's kind of how I use that personal experience with children, because now is
big time.
This age of technology is like school is still stuck in the old way of learning. They have smart boards and things like that. It's a little bit more interactive, but it's still the curriculum is still very just from way back in the day.
That's right.
Exactly. Right. So it's industrialized kind of concept, but every student is different.
That's right.
And they haven't met that need yet. So that's why so many students are dropping out, or not interested, or not studying. And I kind of relate to them. They're like, "Well, you got your master's degree," and I'm like, "Yeah, you're right," but it kind of something you just push through. You know what I'm saying? And how can you build on the strength? Like, what do you have to look forward to at the end? And that's very hard for the kids to conceptualize early on.
You know what's so powerful about what you just exemplified? You talked about how you use personal experience to connect with the kids, right? And
yes.
I look back and just the things that you just mentioned about your journey, and you mentioned how it's funny how like God orchestrates things so that it's basically you're preparing for something that you don't even know that you're preparing for it. Like I think back to, like you said, your first job was you were 16 years old and you were working with basically it started from like your autistic cousin, right? Working and kind of giving help from that perspective. And then you went to college and majored in economics, and that wasn't flowing for you. And it's interesting because my degree is in economics, but I was not doing well in mechanical engineering. Like I started off engineering, and I was getting F's and D's and all that stuff. I'm like, no, man. I took an economics class and enjoyed it, so my degree is in economics. You started economics and moved into social work, so to speak. And so there's a connection there. It's pretty interesting. But but the thing is, you didn't have a plan for becoming a social worker. It was kind of like this whole connection thing, that God was orchestrating this thing from the jump, because you had gotten experience working with your autistic cousin. Then all of a sudden, the opportunity that was presented to you was, a counselor with an addiction program. But then what was interesting about that, and this is what's to me leading towards the whole concept of being a dynamic counselor and therapist with individuals, you are naturally an introverted person. Who is it that you're typically connecting with? People who have issues expressing themselves. So to your point, the whole notion of personal experience, you're able to utilize your personal experience of being slightly introverted to connect with people who have issues expressing themselves. I'm just like, this whole thing is like, it's been orchestrated from the jump. When you take a step and look back, you're like, wow, every step has been ordered to get you to where you are.
Absolutely, definitely. I definitely agree with that. And there is kind of rules against sharing a lot of information, stuff like that. And I do it with, gently, or you can kind of say, well, I know someone and stuff like that. But when I'm working with children specifically, they want to know, they want to know your story. They want to know, how can I relate to you and things like that. So it's important, even from the way, I'm going to, kind of speed into me being in the school social work, being in elementary and junior high school. It's, they want to see someone that looks like them. So when I first started, I was wearing, a button up and slacks, and it's important for them to see that, absolutely. And sometimes I switch it up, but when you are kind of dressed and you have on, wow, I have those same sneakers, and they say, wow, this dude looks like you. It takes on a different tone. So we could talk about sneakers, things like that. Oh wow, that's a nice shirt you got on. So it takes on a different tone. Not to mention that just the environment of being in the school, where some kids I do have to, they may elope from the classroom. It's like you need to be comfortable enough to have to put on your running sneakers and chase sometimes. You know,
Periodically, you gotta run.
Yeah, and it's just sometimes it's just attention. You know, I realized that on Mondays the kids come back with a lot of stuff because who knows what went on in the house during the weekend, and they really just need attention, and it may come out in the form of running out of the classroom, running to the hallways and things like that. So it's like the approach. So I see you having a rough Monday morning, and kind of relating that Mondays is rough for me too. You know, so what went on in the house during the weekend? Did you go anywhere? Did you do anything? And 9 times out of 10, you know, they didn't go to the movies, they didn't go out to eat, they didn't go to the park. It's just so there's this bottled up energy, and who knows what other toxic things they witness in the house. So it's just being just supportive and being relatable and just having a listening ear. You know, sometimes that's all they want. But it comes out in different forms sometimes. So you really have to like really look past that, look past the cursing. I mean, that's just expression.
That's
you know,
right.
It's overwhelming. I'm not going to paint a picture that it's beautiful. No, it can be overwhelming, and that's why it's important that as professionals that we take care of ourselves as well. Self-care.
That's big.
Yeah, big. So I'm a big proponent of that. Like, I don't play around with that. And when I'm working with male clients, in addition to being a father and being a husband, I talk to them about their personal, what makes them happy and things that they enjoy and how important that is, because all the tasks that we have, we tend to forget that we enjoy fixing cars or going to the car show or going to a ball game, and that can make us very unhappy. Make us very unhappy.
And so, I mean, that kind of lends itself to kind of the holistic approach to mental and emotional health that, especially as men, and, you know, this is black fathers now, so especially as black men, we tend to overlook. It's like, you know, hey, go make that money, you know, go grind, go do what you got to do. But then you mentioned the whole concept of self-care because, to your point, things get overwhelming, right? Life gets overwhelming, you know, and if you don't take time to, you know, to take care of yourself and to release and have opportunities to either talk to somebody professionally or just do things that you love or a combination of both, you know, it's like that kid you mentioned who's had a crazy weekend, comes back to school on Monday with all this bottled up, you know, energy. You're the same way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's very important. Being a father and being a partner, just not just a husband, but being in a relationship and employed or being self-employed, it's a lot, you know. And I know I'm taking nothing away from women and their responsibility is huge, but this is black fathers now, and it's a huge responsibility. And sometimes when just hearing when I tell my clients that you have a huge responsibility, like you see their shoulders just kind of just relax for a minute, because you don't really get validated that, wow, it's hard being a black male. It's hard being a black father, being a black partner. Just so many different hats, and not to mention if you have your mom that you want to show that she's good, your grandmother, especially you have a pivotal role in your family. So you're trying to juggle being present in your household, but then you have other family members that you may have a grandmother that raised you, and just trying to make sure that she's good still. And just like trying to juggle, like how do you have time to do everything? How do you something's going to fall short, and you might feel guilty about that. And how do you deal with that? And is your partner supportive in all that you have to do? Because sometimes we feel that we don't get that support.
Now, and this is interesting, kind of going down, this path a little bit. Is it the fact that we don't necessarily get that support? Or is it the fact that some of us don't have or are not equipped with the proper tools to communicate that we need that support?
Well, it's both. I believe it's a bit of both. So first is definitely being able to verbalize that. We may feel overwhelmed, but we definitely know how to say it. And we find alternative means, whether it be like, I need a drink, or I need to smoke, or just anger, just constantly angry, because it's a lot. Especially if you're in a job that you're not being compensated, you're in a field that you don't want to be in. Now, there's a dream deferred that, things that you wanted to do in life that you never did, and having that resentment, like I could have been a ball player, but I didn't because, and dealing with that. So it just cascades down into a very unhappy person.
Fellas, I mean, it goes back to what, to what Arron just mentioned, man, we got to take time for self-care. Like, we have to take time for self-care. We have to address these mental and emotional issues that we're facing. And the other part of that is if we don't know how to properly communicate that, we need to figure out a way to connect with someone who can help us to properly communicate what's going on, because if we can't communicate it, you know, folks can't read us. Just like, you know, sometimes our wives expect us to read their they expect us to read their brain or read their mind, so to speak, and we're like, I can't read your mind. You got to tell me what you want for dinner, girl. And
right.
the same thing happens with us. If we don't communicate that, folks can't necessarily read into what's going on. And so thinking about that and talking about that, you know, when it comes to mental health and black folks and black men in general, man, there's a lot of stigmas. I mean, what are some of the major stigmas that, you know, you being in the midst of it, you know, you're having your own practice, working in the school system, being married, we didn't even talk about this, your wife is a psychologist, so, you know, you all are literally knee deep or neck deep, so to speak, in this, you know, mental health space. What are some of the stigmas, especially within our community, that are extremely prevalent right now?
Right, so it started off with, I'm not crazy, I don't need to go to therapy. That's popular. It's for crazy people. I could go on the altar and pray about it. What else? Those are the popular ones. Like, I don't need it. And now, if you go to men now, that's a sign of weakness. Being vulnerable, like, you not good. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, you should be able to handle and deal with things in a destructive way, because it's not about dealing with things in a healthy manner, right? So if black men does not have the tools to manage their issues, it's expected they're going to do something that is unhealthy, such as drink, smoke, destructive things. That's okay. That's all right. But in terms of dealing with it in a healthy way, like going to therapy or talking about your feelings, that is not okay. And if you can see that the problem with that, in terms of what is acceptable and what's not, you know, doing things in a healthy manner, there's something wrong with that. Like, why are you going to go talk about your problem? You know, let's go smoke and ignore it.
Now, do you think that's perpetuated by society, meaning like historic social norms have kind of perpetuated that, and it's more of a bigger force than individual people, so that it's basically a societal thing that says men are supposed to not talk about their feelings, supposed to hold it in, we're supposed to go take action, go beat somebody up, or go drink, go smoke, go do something destructive like you mentioned. Is that more of a societal thing that's perpetuated, or is that something that we are naturally inclined to do, that we have to relearn how to approach it differently?
So it's interesting. I took a gender and education course, and that's where it connected the dots for me. So in this class, it stated that in terms of learning, we send our girls to go read a book, and we send our boys outside to go play. So from early on, our girls are expanding their vocabulary by learning. You get expression from learning. You learn how to communicate. You're learning more words. And now we're sending our boys outside to go play. So that blew my mind from when and that was years ago. I learned that, and I never forgot it. And I used that during my sessions to prove a point that from early on, that girls having a kind of a heads up.
They have an emotional advantage, basically, because of social norms.
Absolutely. So from there on, that I even know about this the natural part of them being able more expressive, but definitely just from that alone, they're able to verbalize, and it's acceptable for, okay, why are you crying? And we ask what's wrong, and immediately our young men, we are telling them to stop crying.
Even when it hurts. Look, right. I tore my knee up, and it hurts. That's why I'm crying. Yeah. Well, wipe them tears away, boy.
Right, stop crying. I see a lot of mothers are telling their boys, especially during the age where they ask a lot of questions, why? They're like, stop talking, be quiet. while I get it, while you're trying to sleep, and that's annoying, but that sets a tone.
Mm.
That you have a woman your mom telling you to be quiet.
Mm.
Some people may not agree, but I'm just looking historically and looking how that sets in. So now you tell him, oh, so talking is wrong. Okay, let me not talk. Now when he turns 12 and 13, now you're sending him to therapy because my son don't talk. Naturally, they may not, because just teens is a very awkward age, but there's definitely a correlation between years of stop talking, why are you talking so much, be quiet, and now you have your young man that don't talk, and now he turns into a man that don't talk.
Mm. That's, when you were saying that and you're thinking about because, I have a little boy and a little girl. I have a 6-year-old little girl and a 4-year-old little boy. And so I see that in my own house. You know what I'm saying? As far as like what what you expect from one versus the other. And, we definitely try to provide equal opportunities and all of that stuff. But, innately, we do end up kind of shoving one in one direction and one in another direction. But when it comes to things like emotional and mental development, we have to be aware that some of the things that we're shoving one or the other into particular directions might not be best for their overall holistic growth and development. Like, I think about this from the perspective of, I'm not necessarily saying to, go buy dolls for your little boy, but think about this. Little boys grow up and become men. They have wives and they have children. And sometimes the first time a man changes a diaper is with his own child. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or it's like the whole nurturing thing. Or you grow up and you go to school and you move out on your own, and okay, now I have to cook for myself. But growing up, you're not teaching a little boy that, okay, you need to kind of learn how to cook and do, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it just kind of plays into this whole social norm thing that is pretty interesting. And I think it's an interesting conversation to, to kind of dive deep into on multiple platforms, Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, from my experience, in my practice, I do see, especially with moms, they want their sons to be more aware and be able to take care of themselves. So I'm hearing a lot of conversation about that. That's important to them. So they want them to be well-rounded and be able to. They don't want to have them dependent on no woman, Mm-hmm. So I think that narrative. I think for some years has been like that, especially some mothers who are just like, no, I want you to be self-sufficient. And then I guess there are exceptions to the rules with, they not teaching them those tools. But, I just want to add that in there, that definitely mm-hmm. I know there's a lot of parents that they want to ensure that their boys have those tools and be able to be well-rounded and stuff like that. And there are dudes out there that are able to, when they come to sessions, it's refreshing to see the black men just talking during couples session. Mm-hmm. Oh, issues communication. We don't talk. They come to the session, the first session, ask them, what's going on their side, and it's just like verbal regurgitation.
They just let it go.
And my first question is like, I thought you guys don't know how to communicate, and they start to laugh because I'm expecting it to be mute in the session. I said, there's something wrong. I said, your dude could talk. So what's up? That's a huge problem with that. The dude is talking. Like I said, he has the skill. If he didn't, he wouldn't be able to be talking. But I have to say, can I say something? Like I have to raise my hand to say something sometimes. So it's not that he don't know how to communicate. Mm-hmm. So the question is why? Why is he shut down?
You know what? You throw something there that's pretty interesting because it's like the concept of having a neutral party involved, right? And so maybe it's the non-confrontational, mindset of I don't want to have a confrontation. So yes, I know how to communicate, but instead of me just one-on-one communicating, we need to have a mediator in here so that I can feel comfortable just sharing everything. And I don't know. Maybe that's maybe that's kind of the thing going on or something. I don't know.
I mean, I feel like there's a number of factors. Sometimes you just get tired of the same talk. Mm-hmm. So here's a new person, and I feel comfortable with this person, because if it was a different person before me, I may not want to talk because I may feel it's one-sided. So let me tell my story. Let me tell my side.
You know what's interesting about what you just said? You said that one of the things you just mentioned in there, I feel comfortable, right? A lot of times we find comfort in some type of familiarity, right? Like you mentioned earlier in the conversation how when you're dealing with kids, like you might wear some Jordans or you might wear clothes that they can relate to because that gives you that or gives them that reference point to be able to connect to you, which then kind of breaks a barrier down to say like, all right, I can relax and be cool with this guy. He's like me, right? And so to that point, you being a therapist who looks like us breaks that barrier down. And I'm like, you know what? I can talk to this brother. Maybe he can understand more about me because we kind of share a similar experience. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so the point that I was going with that, you know, do you see there being, and I probably know the answer to this, do you see there being enough therapists that look like you out there practicing? And if not, how do we increase those numbers, or how do you get folks interested in doing that so that you have those common grounds so that we are more comfortable in settings like therapy and counseling?
Yeah, so just in grad school alone, it was a very isolating experience. There wasn't that many males, first and foremost, and then there's not many African American males in social work or counseling, things like that. So from the beginning, like the teachers knew my name first day of class because there's one black kid. Okay, so I can remember his name first. So you know, so it's like, dang, it's really, really isolating. And then to my benefit, it has benefited me. I've gotten positions or been sought out because it's minority. You know, we are the minority in this field, so it's been to my benefit because it's predominantly Caucasian, female-dominated field of social work. And those are the founders. You know, it was a white woman.
You know, but you know, it's interesting. You know, we stop and think about it. Like, if that's the case, what interest do black men have to go to therapists and counselors? If real talk, I'm not going to have any connection with the dude or primarily the lady that's going to be in the office with me. Why do I want to go there? I'd rather, to your point, like earlier, I'd rather go to the corner with my homeboy and, you know, grab me a blunt and get a six-pack and chop it up with him, or go to the barbershop, you know?
Exactly, which has been group therapy for many years.
Yeah.
The barbershop is definitely a therapy of kind of therapeutic environment for some sort. It may not be always the best advice, but it's definitely it's definitely a source of refuge and things like that. But yes, to back to the point that it has been a female Caucasian dominated industry. Black males have been kind of infiltrating and getting in there. We're still not, you know, at the top, but it's definitely different, much different than it has been, I would say, 10 years ago. More people are getting to the field. It just, even through social media, that people are expressing interest. People who are in school at the moment are asking me questions. And I wanted to know, like, where are the black male therapists at? So I started a Facebook group just with the ones that I knew. I said, yo, we need to band together. Like, we need to know, like, who is who in different states and same states and stuff like that, just to have that camaraderie. So I started the group, I would say maybe March or April of last year, I want to say. I started the group and just adding people and topics and different things like that. And people refer people and people refer people. So now I have about 284 members.
Oh, wow.
All black males.
Oh, wow.
And California, they're in somewhere in Tennessee, I believe, Florida, Georgia, D.C., like the DMV area. There's a few here in New York, Texas, and we just communicate. You know, kind of ask for advice about different clients. Of course, we hide the information, but just a blanket statement of, you know, and that's part of peer, and that's how we do our peer type of review and ask questions and like, how would you work with this client? And just really having that bond. And some people have developed a friendship. Those are in the same states. And like, wow, I have a friend that is in the same field as me. So I recognized the need for that, so that's why I started the Black Male Therapist group.
And then on Instagram, you're known as the Black Therapist. Like that's
right.
your
So
mm-hmm.
right. So I was like, I need something that's catchy. I said, I need something that people can remember. So I just did the black underscore therapist,
Mm-hmm.
and people just a lot of love and a lot of information being exchanged. I like to do a lot of stats and a lot of information, psychoeducation as they call it, just things that people just never don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
And people's like, wow, I never knew that, or well, I have someone who I know could benefit. How can I get them? That's the number one question. How can I get someone? How can I get my spouse? I could get my brother to go to therapy. Like that's the number one question. And my response is usually that the person has to want to go. As if just same like going to the gym. You can't force me to go to the gym. Like I have to want to make that decision that I want to get my body together and go. So it's the same thing, but there are ways to encourage and support, and the person has to recognize it ultimately on their own to start to make the change. So.
But I got a question. You know, I understand that no change is going to happen unless that person wants it to change, right? Like if you're dealing with addiction, if you're dealing with any other issue, if you don't want it to change, it's not going to happen. But one of the things that's interesting, sometimes we don't understand or recognize what's possible because of lack of exposure, right? So if a wife or a family member is trying to get a black man, to consider therapy, their reference point back to what you were talking about is, you know, maybe a therapist who looks nothing like them, who doesn't understand their story, who can't connect with them. The flip side of that, I might have more of an interest in going to see a therapist if I could see a picture of you and have a conversation or hear someone like yourself, you know, speaking about, you know, mental health issues, because then I'm like, man, I could sit down on the sofa with this brother and rap. You know what I'm saying? Because he can connect with me, whereas I think there's this inherent fear of sharing yourself with someone who doesn't get you. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely. And so that's my first, and my second after I say that they have to want to do it is show them my page. Just show them. And especially with young teens, I tell the mother, show them my page, let them see. And 9 times out of 10, and that's a high 9, they're like, all right, I'll try it. Because like, okay, now I can see. I can have a reference point to see what this person looks like and stuff like that. So, yes, the visual. Visual is very important. They want to see. They want to see this person. They want to see what the person looks like. It is very important. Because that gives them, okay, all right, I'll try it.
And so, I mean, and so now we think about, you know, obviously mental and emotional health within the black community specifically. And but then you think about using therapy as kind of like a tune-up or a checkup. What are your thoughts on people who might not necessarily even be experiencing a mental issue or some type of, you know, emotional issue? What are your thoughts on just having a therapist or counselor as a tune-up? You know, it's this concept that my uncle dropped on me years ago, and it's always stuck with me: digging your well before you're thirsty, right?
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think that, and I encourage that. So I'll start by saying that if once someone comes in with a presenting problem and that has kind of been resolved or there's some kind of resolution, I encourage the once a month afterwards. So to answer your question, that I think just once, even if it's a once a month check-in, just to like, you know, this is what's happened, this is what's going on. Like, you feel the weight lifted off of your shoulders. When I was in grad school, I was also going to therapy as well. And just through everything that I was going through at that time. And I, like, recall my shoulders feeling lighter.
Wow.
Like, you literally feel like you just someone validating your experience. Now, meanwhile, I already know the technique she's using. You know, so I'm like, okay, this is what she's doing now to make me feel comfortable about, you know, all of that, and it still didn't matter. I felt better. I felt better afterwards. So it's just having that check-in, like, this is not your home. Like, you're not sharing everything. You don't share everything with everybody.
That's right.
You're not going to. And even if it's not on the top of the dome, it's somewhere in the back. And it's perplexing you. We all have things that's perplexing us, you know, even if it's be good. And if you're good, that's wonderful. We want to ensure that try to our best to keep it that way, so that you're doing things that you need to do, that you're staying on task, that that you're just feeling fulfilled, that you're going after what you want in life. And even sometimes that you know, you just need someone to process with, what should I do? Like I know I want to do this, I want to do that. Here's a neutral party. This is not your mother telling you that you should go for a doctor instead of going for interior designing. You know, because she's gonna. You know what I'm saying? So that might be something you might really want to do, interior designing, but you want to be a doctor because that's what your family wants you to do.
That's right.
And just having that neutral ear to kind of just listen and process.
Fellas, I hope y'all are paying attention to that. That is some wisdom. I mean, and truthfully, you know, we think about the stigmas of mental health, and especially in the black community. You know, one way to potentially, you know, destigmatize that is to make counseling and therapy common and not necessarily something to experience only when you have a problem. So, like, if we incorporated therapy and counseling in scenarios that are basically helping individuals go from good to great, as opposed to trying to, you know, fix the mess, then the stigma starts to erode, and it starts to look like, you know what, this is just like a relationship with your medical doctor. I get my annual physical, or go get your teeth cleaned I don't have a cavity, but still go get my teeth cleaned every 6 months. I mean, the little things like that, there's no stigma associated with it, because you're also using that as maintenance or improvement versus just only fixing an issue. So I think one of the things black men, black fathers, fellas, that we need to do is to start stepping back and re-looking at the whole concept of counseling and therapy as something to fix something bad, but look at it as something to add value to something that's already good. So
Absolutely.
That is dope, man. I'm really digging that. And so being a therapist, being a counselor, but you're also a husband and a father, how has being a therapist and or a counselor impacted you as a father? This is Black Fathers Now. So how has this impacted you as a husband and a father?
I wouldn't say that. Definitely no one's perfect at all. Far from it. Still make mistakes, and I'm glad that I do. But as a father, I start with, I guess I just try my best to be as present as possible. Show him different emotions, show him love, what love looks like. So, you know, I hug him and kiss him, and we wrestle and things like that. He definitely, I call him a little gangster, because he just mushes you away, straight face. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna have to work on the emotional piece with him. But he's very gangster with it. He just mushes you, like, get out of my face. He doesn't even look at you while he's mushing you. But I don't turn away. I still give it to him anyway. And with my wife, I just try to be as present as possible. Like I said, try to balance, like, okay, I know I'm grinding, working, so today, you know, we're going to do some family stuff, and try to balance and things like that. So just try to be as conscious as possible. Like, what would I want someone to do for me? In terms of even helping with my son, even from the time that he was born, she's a great caregiver and nurturer for him and stuff like that. So just on the behind the scenes, like, all right, he needs Pampers, like, ensure that they all into the, you know, in the dispenser, make sure the wipes is in the dispenser, like, you know, breaking down the boxes from all the, you know, the toys and things like that. Just ensuring that my role is to assist, because she's holding it down on that front. That things is in place. So if I know his bottle time, the bottle's already ready here, just give it to him. Cleaning the bottle, just little stuff like that. Now, of course, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I'm like, dang, I don't feel like doing it. But I'm the type of person, I'll knock it out and then go chill.
There you go.
As opposed to, let me chill. That's just me. Everybody's not like that. So I'm like, let me just get it over with, and then I could just chill. So let me just wash out these bottles when I get home, and they sterilize, and they good, and they clean for his next go-around. So that's the kind of, I mean, thank God he don't, you know, need them like that anymore. But that's the kind of things that I did, just being aware, just trying to be conscious as much as possible. Like I said, nobody's perfect. If you could do one or two things to assist your wife or your partner, all right, she's good, I ain't got to take care of that, or no more, I already did it, she don't have to worry about it. Those are the kind of the things I hear a lot in couples counseling. That is like, because we, like men, we're so consumed with our thoughts and things going on. It's very hard to be present and just to do little things like that, you know. And if they find those things thoughtful and important, and that you're aware and that you're in it with them. So that's what they feel. That's what they feel, that you're not in it with them because but you can remember, you know, to meet with your homeboy Applebee's to watch the game. Like, so they see that you're doing for you, but it's like, can't hold it down for me so that I don't feel so overwhelmed. So my just little advice is that know one or two things that she needs help with. Just do it. And I'm like, just keep her quiet. That's what I say. Keep her quiet, yo. Like, if you could just do that, I know that sounds bad, but that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. If you could just help and assist in a few ways around the crib, that's it.
That's what's up, man. And it's interesting because, you know, the experiences that you've had by, you know, hearing different examples and all of that, you can kind of internalize those yourself. And it gives you a reference point to kind of put into play going forward. So
right, I mean, there's definitely there's common themes. If my phone rings right now, and someone says, you know, I would like to come for couples counseling, I said, oh, let me guess, the communication issues. Like, and I try not to be funny. But I said, what is it about communication? Oh, how did you know? I said, I just kind of figured. It's the same themes. It's the same themes. And you guys are communicating when you guys were going on the first date to Red Lobsters together. So what happened? It was good. It was good in the beginning, but over time and a lot of drama that comes in, it's just a lot happens. A lot happens. So just got to break down all those things that happen, come to an understanding, come to like forgiveness, and moving forward. I think that's the hardest part about moving. So, like I said, brothers, is a lot. It's a lot to have to be present. You got to be present on your job, and if you're running your own business and be present for that, that's very time consuming because you're constantly trying to make sure that money's coming in. So it's hard to juggle. It's hard to juggle. So it's a lot. It's a lot. So it's ever changing. It's never the same. You constantly got to be on your toes in your different roles, and that's overwhelming. And that's overwhelming. I'm going to lie. That's a lot of work.
But you know what, though? That also goes back to the whole case for counseling and therapy. Even if you don't feel like you have, quote-unquote, mental health issues or you feel like you're emotionally unstable, there is a benefit to just unpacking everything that you have going on. And like you mentioned when you were, you know, in school working on your master's, how when you were going through therapy, how it felt like a weight was lifted off your shoulders, like literally. So to that point, fellas, be mindful of that. Don't wait until stuff hits the fan before you feel like it's time to do something. Why not tinker with something that's pretty good now and make it great? You know, why can't we be great? You know what I'm saying? Somebody up in D.C. said, make America great again. I'm like, dude, let's make us great right now. You know what I'm saying? We got the capacity to be great right now. Let's go from good to great as black men. Let's make it do what it do, fellas. Absolutely. So, brother, so tell us what you got going on now. I mean, what's popping? Anything that you all, any initiatives? This is actually going to drop mid-May. So, do you all have any initiatives going on in New York? Do you have anything going on online? Any, you know, products or services or whatever that you like to kind of put out there for the fellas?
So on the Instagram page, the Black_Therapist, you'll see various black men wearing Black Kings Need Therapy 2 T-shirts. Okay. So that's kind of constant. The Black Kings Need Therapy 2 T-shirts, which promotes awareness and consciousness about black kings going to therapy.
That's right.
So that's a constant. I have some things going on in my head in terms of ideas and plans I would like to do. But just still in the drafting stages of that. So right now it's just the Black Kings Therapy, Black Kings Need Therapy 2 T-shirts, and
where can they grab those? Where can they grab those?
So I have the link in the bio, or they can DM me for information about the T-shirts.
Okay, gotcha. And we'll have the info in the bio, most definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then for black male therapists, I have hoodies and T-shirts for them, identifying that they are black male therapists.
Okay.
So yeah, so I've been kind of circulating that in my group in terms of encouraging them to purchase T-shirts. So it's like identify. We're like unicorns.
That's right.
Therapists, so we are real. We're not fake. And that's about it. Right now, we're just taking it easy in terms of planning events and stuff. I have people saying they like to collaborate, but nothing has really has materialized yet. But I'm always open to new initiatives and stuff like that.
Okay. And so the best way for folks to get in touch with you is on Instagram, the Black_therapist. Is that the best way? I mean, is there a website or anything else?
Yeah, that's the best because I'm always on there. Message me.
Okay.
That's the best way. To drop a comment, and I'm always responding back. So I'm very interested.
And what about like you're in New York with you all's practice, Life Matters Psychological Services? Can folks that are currently located in New York, can they contact you for services in the New York area as well?
Yeah, so if you're in New York, it's located on Long Island, within New York, but it's outside the 5 boroughs is on Long Island. We have people that we service from different boroughs and Long Island that it's accessible by the train.
Okay.
And definitely they can reach out to me via Instagram. I feel like that's the easiest way.
That's the best way.
Okay. Yeah, and then I can just give you the rest of the information from that. If they're in the New York area and wanted to reach out for services.
Gotcha. So we'll definitely have that in the bio. So basically, the Black_therapist on Instagram is the best way to get in touch with Arron. And from there, you can get info on Black Kings Need Therapy 2 shirts, as well as the hoodies for Black male therapists. And if you are in the New York area and are interested in services, you can definitely DM him on Instagram and get directly in contact, and he can give you all the info for their company, Life Matters Psychological Services. So definitely will be in the bio. Brother, is there anything else you'd like to leave Black Fathers Now family with?
Just want to encourage you that you're doing the best that you can. If you need help, don't be afraid to seek it. This is not an easy job, but this is what you've been called to do. So I encourage you to take care of yourself first so that you can be the best husband, partner, and father that you can be.
Awesome. And my brother, I thank you. Thank you so much for dropping these gems, my man. I mean, this is so needed in our community, and I hope we can do this again to come on and you can share more of what you got going on, because this is definitely needed in our community, and we need to see brothers who look like you, who can communicate with us, who can share our experiences, to open up that window so that we are then comfortable and confident to go and step in and rap with someone so that we can unlock all the potential that's inside of us. So, my man, thank you so much for you, and thank you for sharing your experience and your journey, brother.
Thank you very much.
No doubt. And all of Arron's info will be in the show notes, but definitely follow him at the Black_therapist on Instagram. Get in touch with him, grab a shirt. Make sure when you DM him, you let him know you heard about him on Black Fathers Now. And as always, y'all, follow Black Fathers Now on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Visit blackfathersnow.com. Subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, subscribe to this podcast. Leave comments, leave ratings, share this episode out. Mental health, emotional health is a big thing in our community. Share this out. Please get this brother's message out there. We must do it. We need to be great. We need to be great, and this is one way to unlock that greatness. All right? So we thank you. And then, fellas, this episode is being brought to you by BlackFamilyApparel.com. Visit BlackFamilyApparel.com where you can grab some dope apparel that celebrates the nuances of the Black family. And until next time, y'all be blessed, well, and wise. And I'll holler at you. Peace. Yo, fellas, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And always visit BlackFathersNow.com, as well as follow Black Fathers Now on virtually every social media platform you can think of. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. Just follow us and engage with us, man. Look forward to hearing from you. And I guess until next time, I'll holler at you. Peace.